Hello, everybody, and welcome to our fourth video during week one of the course. As you can tell with the buildings behind me, I am still in Chicago. By the way, is anyone visiting from out of town? Um, so in this presentation, we're going to answer that burning question that has been keeping you all awake at night for the first 19 or 20 years of your lives. And that question is, what is copy editing? I'm working on two computer screens, so I might not always look at the camera. I want to start off by clarifying three things for you. First, the copy editor's handbook that we use for this class. In this book, it uses the term manuscript when talking about copy editing. That's because this style book is geared more toward book publishing. And students who are on the strategic communication track will find this very useful for their careers. In lectures, I'll be replacing the word manuscript with the terms text or content, because those terms cover the broader range of documents and materials such as newspapers and magazines, which use the AP style guide, which is this, which we will be focusing on and using quite a bit. The second thing I want to clarify is that I'm going to present in this video an outline that highlights the finer points and details that you will read in the copy editor's handbook. All right. And I do this because it will help you to prepare, it'll help you prepare to digest the content as you read it, okay, in the chapters. I'm also going to be showing you examples not in your textbook, and you're going to be quizzed on this video, other videos, and the textbook. So make sure you watch and read everything. And finally, I want to clarify that copy editing is not proofreading. Many who are new to copy editing often mistake them as one and the same, but they're not. You see this a lot, especially with student publications, students who are learning about publishing newspapers, magazines, and yearbooks and online. The two tasks are completely separate from one another. We will get into the details of proofreading and different proofreading techniques later on in about a week or two. But for right now, copyediting is where it's at. And so let's jump right to it. All right. We ended the last video making the point about the most important goal of a copy editor, and that is earning the trust that's needed to do the job well and gain credibility. Well, when you earn that trust, there are three main groupings of people, okay, that you need to, earn trust from. And they include the author of a text, a publisher and or a news director or editor-in-chief, and the readers a publication aims to serve. One of the first teachings the copy editor's handbook points out, and something that I alluded to in the beginning of the syllabus, if you go back to it, is that these three groups of people share one common expectation, and that is an error-free publication. And the question is, how do you actually accomplish that? Well, in large part, we accomplish that through copy editing. Now, copy editing is an ethical process that adheres to a set of guidelines dictated by the style of a publication that an industry or an independent author, dictates. Okay, which I said twice already. The two main terms here are ethics and style. And we're going to talk about style first. We're going to start off with this example. Here's a lead for a story that appears in a newspaper. Now, in a few seconds, I want you to pause this video. I want you to read both of these leads carefully and see if you can recognize the differences between the two, and then decide for yourself which one is the correct version and why. When you're done, then hit the play button, continue the video. But I want you to do this honestly, please, for the learning. It's really important. Okay, so go ahead, pause the video, and then do that task and come right back to it. Okay, so welcome back. The reason why you chose one lead over the other is important, but we're going to get to that later, okay, later on. For now, the answer as to which one is correct is neither lead is correct, but neither lead is incorrect either. Here's why. Imagine a busy newspaper newsroom for a moment. Let's say a reporter writes this top graph over here and sends it off to the copy editor. And the copy editor looks at this and doesn't agree with the way some of it is structured or worded. Makes a few changes, makes some suggestions, sends it back to the reporter for revision. Now let's say the reporter, for whatever reasons, doesn't agree with some or a lot of the changes, and puts together another version and maybe changes some of it back, or all of it back or whatever, to the way he initially had it. The editor then receives the second draft and then sends it to a second editor who maybe, let's say, disagrees with the first editor and maybe even the reporter. So if they can't agree, then they send it off to the editor-in-chief. The editor-in-chief then has his or her own preferences that may disagree with some of the suggestions from the copy editors. Well, these disagreements waste precious time, especially when you have people who are working for an organization that works under heavy deadline constantly. So to enhance efficiency, publications work with a set of rules and guidelines that force a text to conform to an editorial style. In this case, the lead that is correctly written is the one that would conform to the newspaper's mandated style. Now, style provides consistency and comfort for readers because it allows them to receive the content more easily. Readers learn to recognize and expect style. I read the New York Times and the Wall Street Journal almost every day, and I know where to go for certain things in each newspaper, and I know exactly what those pages are supposed to look like because I've become acclimated to their style. Whether it's consciously or unconsciously, again, readers learn to recognize and expect style. And that is so vitally important for earning readers' trust. Think about it this way. You ever notice that sometimes when you read a book, let's say a novel for the first time, the deeper you read into the text, the more quickly you read through the pages. That often happens because as you read, you reach page 20 or 30 or whatever it might be for you, you're growing acclimated to the writer or the publisher's style. Readers have the same expectations for the newspapers and the magazines that they frequently read. In journalism, most publications adhere to AP style. The AP style book is called the AP style book and libel manual. And that is because AP style is designed to accomplish two things: eliminate waste, wasted time and debating, what's the best way to do things, and also to minimize harm. Even still, many newspapers and magazines have their own in-house style guides that are used to address the needs and expectations of their specific readers. We see this, for example, in student newspapers. across the country, a lot of student newspapers will include, if you look down here where my cursor is, will include the academic year and major of a student when a student is referenced as a source for a newspaper or magazine article. Unlike, now I have my own pet peeves with some of that for some specific reasons, but for the most part, that's okay. But unlike newspapers, many scholarly journals adhere to APA style, which allows more room for using industry technology and jargon, terminology, and that's fine. That's what those readers expect. Here are a list of some of the different style guides that are out there. Corporations use the AMA style and also have their own in-house rules and guidelines for style, typically rooted in branding and key messaging that their specific target audience expects. I'm going to pause the PowerPoint for just a second, give you an example of what I'm talking about here. And I'm going to share my screen with you again, show you something. Hopefully this works well. This is the in-house style guide for the National Safety Council. Actually, let's see if you can, I think I have to stop sharing my screen again and do it again. I apologize. One of the nuances of Zoom I still have to get used to. Okay, so the National Safety Council is a nonprofit organization that advocates for safety in the workplace and the nation's roads and highways. And as you can see in this style guide, they start off with the style rules for using its logo, what color you can use. And it also shows you the different applications and how you can use the logo and how you can't. It also has a guide for the types of font that you can use when creating documents for the National Safety Council, meaning that anything outside of these fonts is unacceptable. It even has a style guide for its stationery. And how to treat corners for brochures and other types of documents that it publishes. And as we go through it, you get deeper into it, you'll see, let me get it up to you, I think it's some page. Yeah, here. It has the writing style guide. It tells you how to properly use abbreviations and acronyms for organizations, which they do work with. How to write dates properly. How to use numbers and numerals. Titles for people, how to use them in a sentence. Titles of products. So you kind of get the idea, and also word usage, what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. They also have, in addition to this, something really cool, and that is the first document that actually came up when I shared my screen. Here it is. They have a voice and tone style guide. A lot of corporations have this because they want to communicate to the masses a very specific personality of their corporation. So they are, if you notice what's interesting here, they have a subhead called Why Language Matters. They're very, very particular about words that appear in their documents because they understand that words project tone and voice, and that creates personality for a brand. So this should kind of give you an idea of what you can expect, especially for those who are on the strategic communications track. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing this. Hope you found that useful or interesting, and I will go back to the PowerPoint. Okay, and pick it up from where we left off there. Okay. Now, some corporations might use more than one type of style guide. For example, let's say you are a technical writer for the Tyson Food Corporation, and you write and publish in a health journal a scholarly article on best practices for safe food coloring that also adds a nutritional value. You might need to use the APA style for your technical article. Now, let's say the president of Tyson Foods says, hey, let's file, and apply for FDA approval on this because I think it'll be really, great and for our consumers if we can move ahead with this. So now the person who writes documents that target the government might need to use the GPO style guide, for gaining FDA approval. And then let's say the internal public relations team at Tyson gets wind of this and wants to write a press release in more layperson terms because, he or she hopes that the Wall Street Journal, let's say, or another business publication will pick it up as an article. That person might need to use AP style. And so this happens a lot. So you need to get used to using quite a number of different style guides in your careers. Now, whether it's the National Safety Council, a newspaper or magazine that uses AP style, a book publisher, or brands such as Coca-Cola, Kellogg's, or the Ford Motor Company and its engineering department, everyone uses some sort of style guide. It is the copy editor's job to know that style and to make sure that the content adheres to that style. In journalism, it is all about AP style. But copy editors are also expected to do the work with a solid footing in ethics. Now, let's talk about the ethics of copy editing. I feel like I need to put on a crown and a robe when I talk about the 4 commandments. But here are the 4 commandments of ethical copywriting that copywriters have to follow. First, you never lose or damage a manuscript or other text. Second, never correct something that is already correct. Third, never change an author's meaning or change something simply because you like it better. And fourth, never ever miss a deadline. Now, chapter 1 of the Copy Editor's Handbook will go into more detail about these things, but I'd like to touch on numbers 2 and 3 a little bit because those actions are harshly looked down upon in the world of copy editing. Inexperienced copy editors will sometimes correct something that's already correct. That's a no-no. They don't intend to be malicious, but it happens when a copy editor typically doesn't have enough knowledge of the subject matter or prefers the way their version sounds, or they think they know better about the content, but they really don't. Anytime copy editors have questions about content, you are expected to query the authors, okay? That means ask, consult. That could be the writer, the reporter, or whoever. One of the biggest and most common mistakes made in student news organizations is when writers submit their stories, and I hear about this all the time, they never see it again until after it's published. And that's a clear sign that the copy editors, student copy editors, are not doing their jobs properly. I said in an earlier video that the process is a lot more collaborative today, especially at news media organizations. And then for Number 3, never change an author's meaning. Copywriters must never insert their own interpretations or voices into a text. Experienced copywriters live by this mantra: hey, it's not my text. And that's really important. But copywriters must also live with a commitment to accuracy, presenting factual correctness within its proper context. It's very, very important. If you're a copy editor and you think there's a better way when you read something or when you have questions, query the author. Don't just do it. Okay, sit down with the writer, the reporter, and talk about it. So, what then can you change as a copy editor? For that and more about ethics, let's move on to video number 5 to review the 6 principles of copy editing. Now I'm already waiting there, so hurry up and get to it.